Welcome back to What's the Dill podcast. I appreciate you all checking in, whether you're watching on YouTube, listening on Spotify, Google, Apple Podcast, however you're listening or watching to this. I appreciate you checking in. Thank you so much. Make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss any episodes of this. I'm putting it out like once a week. And this week is the middle of one of the best times of the year. Lent, maybe, yes, it's March Madness time. I love March Madness. I love basketball. I love college basketball. March Madness is truly one of my favorite times of the year. I'm still alive in the office pool, the office bracket. I put one bracket in. I'm still alive. I'm in the middle, but I got a lot of teams alive, ready to rock. Three of my four final four teams are still in it. And I was telling my wife about the bracket. Yeah, I'm still alive in the office bracket. And she got really interested. She got really interested in March Madness. Went from 0 to about 100, knowing that maybe I could win the office pool. She started really cheering for Houston. She's like, let's go Houston. Yes, Houston, come on. She's like, why are they not playing defense? Play defense, Houston. We need you. Come on, move the ball. Pass the ball. She's like, these guys don't box out. I'm like, don't worry. Houston, Final Four's in Houston, so I'm cheering for you. And my producer, the wife, she's also cheering for you big time. I mean, she's got schedule. She's like, okay, we're only 4.5 point favorites against Miami. What do we think? Why is Vegas running those odds like that? I'm like, whoa, listen. We're going to be okay. Let's just watch the game. So she's really invested now. So we're cheering for Houston here in this house in Texas, actually. Didn't just pick it because living in Texas. I think they have a great team. I love March Madness. It is the best tournament style, the best way to decide a champion. Win in advance, survive in advance, win, and you keep going, lose, and you're out. Big time fan of college basketball in this house here. But I want to talk about this week, one story in particular, and the one segment of this week's episode, the Beatitude of the Week. Still workshopping some of these names, but we're going with it. Like I said, if you've listened to this in the past, we're pivoting, we're adjusting, we're making moves on the fly. I'm putting myself out there, and I'm trying things out for everyone to see. I think Beatitude of the Week, I think that's okay segment. We're going to keep rocking with it. And the Beatitude of the Week this week is Keyontae Johnson on the Kansas State Wildcats. Now, I'm filming this on Wednesday evening. They play this weekend, so I'm going to try to get this out before the Sweet 16 starts. But the Kansas City Wildcats are still in the tournament. They are playing Michigan State in the Sweet 16. Kansas City's a 3 seed. Michigan State's a 7 seed. Kansas State, they are kind of out of nowhere doing really well this year. And Keyontae Johnson, why is he the Beatitude of the Week? Well, he has an incredible story. And his story is, insane. And he is just thanking God every step of the way. And he's such a great example of perseverance, of sticking with, yourself and believing in yourself, even through really hard times. And then also making sure to shout out God and give God his glory, even in good times, even in crazy times, even when the tension's really on him and, myself. It's such a good example. That's such an inspiration. So had to make an episode about this story. And you can check out, there's a lot of great interviews he's done. There's a lot of great human interest pieces on ESPN or Sports Illustrated, CBS Sports. I've seen a lot of great stories in him. I wanted to make my own little, segment on Keyontae Johnson, and particularly for his, calling out of God. That's why he's the Beatitude of the Week, and that's why I wanted to make a segment about him. Okay, so what's his story? All right, Keyontae Johnson, playing at the University of Florida for a few years. Now you said, all right, Kansas State. Well, he was at Florida first. He was at Florida, doing good, was a draft prospect, looking good. Had a great college career. People were saying he might make the NBA. And in a game against Florida State in 2020, he completely collapsed on the floor, on the court after a timeout, very scary situation, had to get stretched out of there, was in a coma, heart stopped, basically had a cardiac arrest on the court. So it's very scary. So doctors, they're thinking he might not even survive. They're thinking this guy might not even live. This is like a guy at the top of his game, the top of his like athletic ability. His body is tip-top shape. I mean, these college athletes, professional athletes, are in such good shape, and just had a heart condition. Just his heart stopped. Kind of this like nightmare scenario. So he has this cardiac arrest. He miraculously survives, and he survives. And there's this interesting catch. There's this interesting clause in the NCAA insurance policy. And it says to protect some top athletes and to protect their health and knowing that they're putting their bodies on the line and they're amateur athletes, there's an insurance policy associated with a lot of athletes. And he could have claimed a $5 million paycheck from this insurance policy because to cover bills and to like be, to be the recipient of his insurance policy that he was a part of being part of the NCAA, he would have got $5 million. But to do that, he would have had to medically retire from playing basketball in college ever again. So he would have said, I'm done with college. I can go take my chances at the pros, but I'm done with college. Now, at this time, though, you remember, like, what professional team is going to pay him millions of dollars? He just had a heart attack. He hasn't played now in a year. And actually, it's 2 years. Now he's 2 years out, and he could have collected this money. NBA teams don't really want to see him, because they don't know his health condition. They don't know what he's going to be. Like, they need to see him kind of perform at a high level again. So he's stuck between this rock and hard place. Either take the money and maybe kiss your career of playing basketball ever again goodbye, or maybe try to play college basketball somewhere. So he says, I decline the money. I'm going to want to get to the NBA. That's my ultimate goal. And I'm going to try to play college basketball again. So this is a guy who almost died on the basketball court, who gave up like unimaginable riches to say, I want to play college basketball again. So he decides to transfer to Kansas State and say, I'm going to work my tail off and I'm going to play the best I can and I'm going to show that I belong in the NBA and I want to have like a dream scenario, dream season here at Kansas State. So it's his final year at Kansas State, right? And he's like, all right, well, now everyone's saying, hey, man, like maybe you shouldn't be playing. How's your heart? And he just like stayed focused. Now, okay, so he's about to, this is the beginning of the year. Now, like, what's the perspective on this? I kind of gave that story pretty quick. I glossed over some of these details, but this guy almost died. And what are some of the quotes that he's had at the beginning of the year? I'll read them for you. Some of his quotes that he said when people asked him about this scenario of, hey, man, you're like going back on the court. How do you feel? Direct quote from him. I'm feeling good, just thanking God every day for giving me the opportunity to get here, play again, and stay patient. I mean, what a perspective on this guy. What an awesome inspiration for following God and trusting God and staying patient. I mean, me, I feel like if that happened to me, I might have been like, God has betrayed me. I'm supposed to live out my talents. Why is this happening to me? Poor me. But he said, I'm going to work hard. I want to thank God for giving me the opportunity to play again. Another quote he had, he calls the anniversary of his collapse his rebirth day. So he has another quote where he says, every day I think about it. I wake up. I thank God for giving me the opportunity. And before I get in the court, I just pray for a healthy season, keep putting my faith in God. He's got me through this situation. I feel like the best I can do is just keep praying and thank him every day. I mean, that's what people are asking him. That's his response. And that's from people asking him, how are you feeling about playing basketball? And he's just thanking God. He's saying, I'm thanking God for the opportunity. I'm just praying and thanking God. I'm staying focused, staying patient. I mean, that is like the ultimate sign of a guy who's like, locked in on what's like meaningful in his life, that God is protecting him through good and through bad. Because, like a lot of times in sports, it's like so funny. All right, you just won the championship. Hey man, like how you doing? They go, hey, I want to thank God. I want to thank God. And definitely great that people thank God when they win championships. But, God's also with us in the bad times, and he brings us through the hard times. And so for Keyontae Johnson, he's thanking God that he is having this opportunity to play again. I mean, a total inspiration of faith and of patience and of focus. So that's at the beginning of the season. So the season starts. Kansas State is picked last in their conference. They're picked last. They're like, hey, congratulations, Keyontae Johnson. You're back. And we're picking you to be the last place team in your conference. You guys are going to stink this year. But they don't. In fact, they have an incredible season. He's all Big 12, like he's one of the top 5 players in the Big 12. I think he's first or second in scoring. And the Kansas State team is having one of the best seasons ever. And all the while, he's just like raising his draft stock. So now he gave up all this money because he said, maybe I'll never play basketball again. But now he's having such a good season that NBA teams are like, hey, we've seen you perform. We've seen you play well at this high level, and you're playing incredible this year. So now he's on pace to like go have this incredible NBA career, get drafted, go make a ton of money. And it's like this incredible, I think, example of how God, if we trust in him, even through dark, hard times physically on our bodies, like stuff can work out amazing when we trust in him. And stuff can just like be greater than a movie script than we can ever imagine if we stay patient and we stay thanking him and we stay focused on the things God has for us in our life. And so I'm really rooting for him. I actually kind of maybe need Kansas State to lose to be in my office bracket, but if they do advance, I'm going to be cheering for Keyontae Johnson. I love them. I love their coach Tang. His name's Coach Tang. Love him. I'm not saying I want them to win or lose. I just need some sort of scenario. I need the math to play out where I can still win my office pool and Kansas State do well. But he's got this awesome quote talk about the hard work he's put in this year. And he says, I feel like I've put in a lot of hard work. I feel like God didn't give me a second chance for me to just sit out again. And I love that because, we sometimes fall down in our lives, whether it's physically, emotionally, but we're always going to fall down. But God always wants us to get back up. He always wants me to get back up. And so what am I going to do with that? What am I going to do with the opportunity to get back up when I've been knocked down? Am I going to trust that God has a plan for me? Or am I just going to say, hey, well, maybe the plan was to stay down all along. But we know that God does not want us to stay down. So I think Keyontae Johnson is the perfect example of like getting back up after you've been knocked down. So if you're a March Madness fan, or maybe if you're not a March Madness fan and you're looking for a team to root for, if you're looking for a guy to get behind, Kansas State and Keyontae Johnson is probably your guy. I mean, they have really cool colors too. They have purple, kind of like purple and white. That's a cool color. I know a lot of times people look for jerseys or colors or mascots to get behind teams. Kansas State, I think they got great colors. So if you're looking this March Madness this weekend to cheer for a team and a guy who's putting his faith in God, Keyontae Johnson and the Kansas St Wildcats is your team. And in conclusion, I hope that I can have the faith like Keyontae Johnson does in God. I hope that I can get back up when I get knocked down like Keyontae Johnson has. I'm going to be cheering for him and rooting for him his whole professional career. I just wish him nothing but the best. I hope that God keeps blessing him. I hope he stays healthy. I hope he stays the course in his career and that he can just like be pain-free and be totally healthy the rest of his college career and NBA career. Thank you all for checking back in with What's the Dill. I hope you all enjoyed this podcast. Talk about March Madness, talk about basketball, talk about basketball. I love basketball, so if you're a basketball fan out there, hope you enjoyed this. I could probably talk about basketball each episode. Maybe I can tie in God and the faith in every episode somehow. I don't know, but maybe that's another pivot. Maybe that's another segment. But thank you all for checking in. I appreciate this, whether you're doing chores, on your commute, you're just around your house, you're just listening while you're working out. I don't know how you're listening to this. Well, I appreciate it so much for you listening. I truly do. Thank you all for listening. Go watch the Wildcats this weekend. Go watch Keyontae Johnson. Cheer for them and also cheer for Houston. Dill House needs them to win the office pool. That'd be a lot of fun. Appreciate you all. Thank you all. Talk to you soon. Peace.